figure out, and I wanted to get your advice or your kind of your opinions about it, because I really don't know what to make of it. Actually, here, I'm over here as well, so I want to make sure I'm showing up. There it is. I was like, why am I not seeing myself on the other ones? Okay, so it's like my face is frozen. It looks hysterical. Let's see. Make sure it's okay, good. I'm live there. Okay, yeah. So I want to share a dream with y'all, because dreams can be really interesting, right? Dreams can mean a lot of different things. I'm actually very, very good at interpreting dreams, especially when they're not my own dreams. When it comes to like our own dreams, it's harder to interpret just because you have to look at it from an objective perspective. Most of us, whenever we're having like dreams or nightmares or something that's really complex, there's a lot of symbolism that usually shows up in dreams. And for myself, I've experienced this, over and over and over again myself. I think as time has gone on, my dreams have become a lot more direct or to the point, but there's still quite a bit of symbolism in it. So whenever I'm doing like dream analysis and dream interpretation for clients, I break the dream down into pieces to try to understand the different components, because different parts of the dreams can represent different things, right? So there's one dream that I have yet to make sense of, and I have not figured it out. And I had this dream last year in early March of March of 2019. So this was almost the year before last. And I wanted to share the dream because I think it's showing up, but I don't understand if it is or if I'm reaching. And this is where I wanted to kind of get y'all's opinion or y'all's understanding about it. So, and by the way, guys, I'm not doing readings, so I'm not bringing anyone on to do readings or to do anything like that. I'm just sharing my dreams. So if y'all are tuning in wanting me to answer personal questions, that's not what I'm here for. I wanted to get y'all's opinion with something that I'm trying to figure out, because I don't know what to make of it. So last year, so this was around March 13ish, around there, I had a dream. And it was a really weird and vivid dream, and I could not for the life of me figure it out when I had it then. But I shared it on my post, and you can go down to like my post from 2019, March of 2019. During that month, I actually posted 2 very significant dreams. I had the first dream, which I made a little bit of a collage around. And this is a collage, yeah, I can see it. See it? That's the collage that I made. So I made that dream, and then I posted it on Instagram, and then less than 2 weeks after that, then I had my other dream, which was my infamous Donald Trump dream, which is the dream that I've been pushing out like no one's business. And that's the dream that I posted back in March 2019. Late 2019, talking about that there was going to be protests and stuff like that. This is way before Black Lives Matter, way before all of the craziness that happened last year in 2020. So my dream was way, I want to say over a year in advance of that all coming down and that happening. And at the time that I posted that dream, I didn't even know what that dream was about either, because I had this dream, posted it, then I had less than 2 weeks later that other dream about Donald Trump and the shooting at the White House and the protests and all this stuff, and then I posted it. And I didn't know if I wanted to post that one because, there's a lot of people who have opinions and there's people from both sides. And I didn't really want to start shit. So I didn't post that dream right away. And I was like, let me ask if people think I should post it or not. So I asked everybody on social media, here on Instagram, on Facebook, etc. And people said, just post it. Just post the dream as you had it. So I did. I posted that dream on social media. And, of course, last year we started seeing all of those elements coming into play. But I still, and even though a lot of things have happened since my Donald Trump dream, I still to this day believe that there's still things that have yet to unravel or to happen that are going to be very similar to what my dream was. So I'm still expecting those things to happen, but I haven't known when that was going to happen or how that was going to happen. And every single time there seems to be this major protest or this major event around the White House, I'm like, oh my God, is this going to be the day where the shooting starts or all of the, the craziness and the violence starts? Because I've been anticipating that, but it hasn't happened yet. So I'm like, okay. So I just thought, maybe the elements of my dream did already happen. Maybe pieces had already occurred, and maybe I'm just expecting too much from the dream, right? So then, whatever. Well, a few like last week, I was going through my news feed because I read the news, right? And so I was going through my news feed, and the first stream that I had last year, it never happened, or nothing ever showed up that was connected to that dream, and it was a really random dream. I don't even know how I could even make sense of it. But I was reading the news, reading the paper, and I have an app where I can with the app that I have, I can connect it to different news sites that I feel trustworthy of, or that I feel like is going to be more accurate than, some of the pedal pushers that are like always trying to stir the pot, or create a narrative. So I try to be really picky about where I get my news sources from. And so I was going through it, and I saw a story. So let me tell you about the dream, and then I'll tell you what I saw on the news. So again, here's the picture of the dream. So this is the collage I made, right? So this is remember, it's the llamas, right? And I think some of you might have remembered it, but this is what I wrote on my post on Instagram last 2019, March 13, 2019. So I said, these are highlights from a dream I had last night. Sometimes dreams can be symbolic, and sometimes they can be very literal. I'm going to describe the one I had last night in hopes that this may relate to someone who sees this. And then this was the dream. So I was in a building on a higher floor, seemed like a stone house, and actually reminded me of like a big mansion, those big like stone houses that are made of blocks and stuff. So it felt very much like a big house, like a mansion. Almost reminded me of like the really nice country homes that you see in Europe and the UK, etc. But I was in the building on a higher floor, seemed like I was like a stone house. The area reminded me of rural farm or country land, possibly South America or Europe. The reason why I say South America is because when I went to Peru, there were places like that reminded me of it as well. But it was just very like kind of rolling hills, and it wasn't like mountainous. It was just very like kind of slopes, but it was very country-like, right? It had recently rained and flooded, so there were areas of deep water. So there had been a lot of precipitation that had fallen. It seemed like there had been a lot because there was a lot of water that was just sitting around, or a lot of pockets of water and deep water. There were llamas or alpacas. I thought there were llamas, but I said alpacas because sometimes they can be very, very similar to each other, grazing around the land of the house. So it was weird because there was two of them. There were two llamas, and they were just kind of like hanging out around the property. And in the dream, even though I didn't share as much detail because I can only write so much before it doesn't let me put it, but in the dream I felt like I was inside the house, in the stone house, and I was working on it, or I was doing some repair work, because I felt like I was a repairman. And I was looking out the window, and I saw these llamas, these two llamas, just roaming around randomly, as if they had free range. And there was no fence, there was nothing nothing separating them from the street. And I thought it was weird because why would these llamas just be free to roam around when this road is there? They would probably get hit by a vehicle or something if they're not careful. So I thought to myself, it's weird that they're just not fenced in, or they're just roaming around free. So then I said, there were llamas or alpacas grazing around the land of the house. This white, late 80s, early 90s sedan, because it felt like a classic car. That's what it reminded me. It reminded me of a white classic vehicle. So for me, when I thought of it, because when I saw it, I was like, maybe this is just an 80s or 90s sedan, like one of those older style model vehicles. But it felt like a classic. That's what it felt like. But I put this white late 80s, early 90s-ish sedan came driving down the road. It began chasing the animals for fun, it seemed, and was going around in circles right in front of the house. So it was the weirdest thing, because right in front of the house, there was the road kind of comes right in front where the house is at. And the llamas were there, and it almost felt like the vehicle was not so much trying to run the llamas over, but it was just kind of driving around in circles, almost making it a point to get to it was making it a point to drive around these llamas. And I was just like, what the hell is going on? Again, in this mansion looking down, or the stone building looking down. The car, so it was driving around in circles in front of the house. The car got caught in an area of accumulated water on the road, and when it tried to plow out of it, it lost control in the dip and flipped over. And so it was driving really fast. It almost felt like whoever was driving the vehicle didn't really understand, they didn't really have control of the vehicle. And they were driving really fast. They were being very like crazy in their driving, and that's probably why they lost control of the vehicle, because they were just not paying attention. And so they driving fast, they got caught in this water, they just like lost control of the vehicle. And then of course it ended up in this like liquid, and then it was like flipped over. So I in the house was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So I ran outside of this like building, and I ran to the vehicle. So the car got caught. Yeah, I ran down and out to the vehicle to see if I could help, as it looked like the people in it were stuck and unconscious. So I knew there was people in it, and I definitely knew that there were kids in it, which is why I was freaking out in the dream, because there was some kids in the dream. When I got to the car and opened the back left side door, American driver's side, I realized there were two children in the back, and it seemed like two adults in the front. I couldn't figure out exactly who was in the front, because I felt like I knew there were people in the front, but it felt like I was more fixated on the kids in the back. And they were not that like far in age. It felt like they were between 2 and 3 like years apart, because it looked like they were that close in age. They weren't that drastically different in age. So I put, so I realized there were two children in the back and two adults in the front. I believed both children were male, but I wasn't sure. And I actually thought they were boys. I thought there were two little boys in the back seat. The toddler, because one of them was much younger, he was much smaller size. He still was like in the, I guess, the strap thing when younger kids are in the vehicle. That's what it looked like. The toddler was around 1 or 2 years of age. I was working to release them from the child's safety seat. The other child was definitely a male and was around 5 or 6, maybe older. So I felt like they were just about 3 years apart from each other. I assumed that one of them was 1 or 2. I honestly don't know how old the younger one was, because the only reason why I said toddler was just because I saw him strapped in like a regular, Then the other one was old enough that he could be by himself with the seatbelt. The other child was definitely male. The driver was also a male and was the only one conscious. That's where it got a little confusing for me, because I felt like there were two people in the front of the vehicle, but I kept thinking that the person that was driving was a man. And I felt, and even in the dream, I was confused, because I kept thinking that it was just one driver in the vehicle, that it was a man, but I kept thinking there was a female in the vehicle, that there was a female in the front as well. But I thought maybe it was the man driving, but I kept thinking there was a female in the front, but I kept bouncing back and forth in the dream thinking it was just one person driving. But I kept thinking there was a male, but then I kept thinking there was a female in the front. So I was confused about that. I didn't understand that. And I remember that part in the dream too. So I was like, I don't, but I wrote down what I put down is, the driver was also a male and was the only one conscious. But the water was flooding in and didn't know if I would get them all out in time. I couldn't tell if the other passenger in the front was male or female. The reason why I believe this was in another country is because of the animals, style of house, and also because the driver was on the opposite side of the driving side we are used to in the States. Which if the vehicle was upside down, it would seem like they're on the opposite side. So I didn't think about that. So the vehicle, if it was upside down, of course it would look like they're on the opposite side of the vehicle where they should be in the driver's seat. So I'm thinking they were actually in the right side of the driver's side, but they were just upside down. I was trying to get the children out when my alarm went off and I woke up. And that was the part that was like really, like I woke up like, because I was trying to get the children out of the back of the vehicle, because I felt like they were going to die. They were dying. I felt like they were dying and they were going to be killed because of this reckless driver. And I woke up thinking that, and I actually woke up angry, because I was like, how can this fool like drive so recklessly and put these children at risk? And I was so angry, but I also woke up just kind of traumatized, because I was like trying to get these kids out of the vehicle. Then I woke up, right? So I posted that online. I posted that in March, etc. I have yet to see I didn't see anything after that validated the dream or even made sense to me at all. But I did have that dream less than 2 weeks before the second dream. And the second dream was the Donald Trump dream about him being on the White House, and then there being a shooting and people going crazy in a protest with a bunch of black marchers. I mean, that was that dream. Again, this was in March of 2019, more than a year before Black Lives Matter happened, more than a year before COVID happened, more than a year before all of the craziness in front of the White House with the protesters being, hit with those tear gas, all that stuff. So people were saying that they thought maybe that event was the Donald Trump dream, but I still was like, no, I think there's something else coming, and I think it's going to be right when it's clear that he's lost the election and that there's someone else coming into the White House. So now we're getting closer to that. And of course, I've posted this several times on Instagram and on Facebook and stuff, that I feel like this is still coming. Be careful if you're going to be out protesting, because I still think that this might come up. But that's it. That's been the end of it, right? So again, last week I was reading the news and I saw an article. And the article, let me see if I can bring it up here. So the article, and this was the article. So the article was this one. It's right here. So you see right there. So the article is right there. So, you can scroll through. So is the article right there. And so the article was like, llama antibody prevents infection by COVID-19. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, but it's not like you see a lot of articles or like stories in the news about llamas. So when I saw the article, I was like, oh, maybe this is, we are getting close to, when Biden's supposed to be sworn in or whatever. I was like, maybe this is part of the dream, because I remember having it right around that time that I had the Donald Trump dream. So I opened the story, I read it. I didn't really think it had anything to do with my dream. It just talks about how, they injected llamas with COVID-19 and their bodies produced the antibody, and they were thinking that they could produce a drug from this. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. But I was like, I don't really think it has anything to do with it. So I just missed it. I was like, I'm not, I don't think it has anything to do with my dream. Well, then, I scrolled up one story. And so I scrolled up one story. And then when I scrolled up one story, I saw this other story right here. Let's see right here. See right there. And it was about this woman. And it was a California philanthropist charged with murder in hit-and-run crash that killed 2 young brothers. And I was like, that's an interesting coincidence. I was just thinking about my dream with the llamas and then that white vehicle that killed, the 2 little boys in the back that were dying. So I was like, well, let me read the story, right? So then I opened the story, and this is the story. So let me go to that because I want to bring that up here. And I actually found 2 stories on it that actually share a lot of information. So the first story was a California philanthropist has been charged with murder for a hit-and-run crash this past September that left 2 young brothers dead. CBS Los Angeles reports Rebecca Grossman, her last name is Grossman, 57, pleaded not guilty Wednesday in a Los Angeles County Superior Courtroom in Van Nuys to 2 counts each of murder and vehicular manslaughter with gross negligence, along with 1 count of hit-and-run driving resulting in death. Her bail was set at $2 million. If convicted as charged, she faces up to 34 years to life in state prison, according to the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office. On the night of September 29th, Mark and Jacob Iskander, ages 11 and 8, so they were only just a few years apart, were in a crosswalk at the intersection of Trufino Canyon Road and Saddle Mountain Mountain Drive when they were struck and killed by a speeding Mercedes while on a walk with their family. LA County Sheriff's investigators say the driver, Grossman, sped away. Her white Mercedes, which had front end damage, came to a stop about a quarter mile from the crash scene after its engine broke down, prosecutors allege. Grossman is a co-founder and chair of the Grossman Burn Foundation, the wife of the foundation's president. She has received awards and acclaim for her philanthropy around the world. And then it goes on about, the sheriff's department told CBS Los Angeles Monday that the drunken driving portion of the case remains under investigation and investigators are still waiting on toxicology results. She could face further charges once those results come in. The next court hearing is scheduled for February 16th. So I found another story about it as well, and it's pretty much the same thing. A woman has been charged with murder in a Westlake Village hit and run crash that killed two young brothers in September's official. Rebecca Grossman is what was her name. And then it goes on and on and on. And then it said, let's see what was we believe speed is a factor. So she says she continued driving, but so she hit the boys. They were struck. She continued driving, but stopped about a quarter of a mile away when her engine cut off, according to the LA County District Attorney's Office. We believe speed is a factor. Alcohol is a factor. And so it goes on and on about the different parts of it as well. So I was like, well, that's, and then it shows a picture of little boys, which made me really sad. So I was like, okay. So I thought, well, that's interesting that I saw that, like, I was thinking, I saw that llama clip, but I was like, that has nothing to do with my dream. And then, like, I scroll up one story, and then there's a story about these two boys, and that, like, took me back to my dream, and I was like, okay. I was like, I still don't think that my llama dream has anything to do with this, right? And I was like, I'm like, no, I'm not gonna, because for me, it's like, it feels like it's reaching. It feels like I'm reaching and trying to fit things that don't go together. And I was like, plus, the dream that I had nothing to do with a llama and antibodies and anything like that. The dream that I had to do with these, like, two llamas just, like, running around, like, they were all, like, loose. They were loose, running around across the countryside in front of this, like, really big, stone house. And this story with this woman, it doesn't include that, but it does include elements, the white vehicle, her last name being Grossman, and that could explain why I was so confused about who was in the front of the vehicle, and then the two brothers who were the same age, who were killed. Not only that, but apparently when this happened, So that already fits that part of it. And I know from experience that when I have dreams, sometimes things will be put together to help me understand, like, a bigger picture or the elements of what's going on at that time. But I still dismissed it. And I said, it's pretty close, but there's the llamas. There's no, like, loose llamas. There's no llamas, like, running around, like, loose. There's no llamas in the countryside. There's no llamas in front of the stone house. Like, that's not part of this story or the other story. So I dismissed it. Went to sleep that night. The next morning, I wake up and I had an email. And my email, and this was funny because when I opened my email, because I get an email every morning with the like the top stories of that day, and I was looking at my email, and the first story that I saw was about llamas, and I was like, oh, maybe it's the story that I read the night before about the antibodies. No, it was not about a llama with the antibodies. The story, let me open it up here. The story was about these llamas that got loose. And I was like, and like, so right then and there, I was like, okay, what is going on here? Because the night before, like that same night, I was like, had that, read that first story, thought maybe this is something to do with because I started to feel some similarity. I was like, no. Then I read that story about the woman and the two boys, and I was like, okay, that's kind of connecting. But no, the llamas are not loose. And then the llama story comes up. And so the llama story, here's the llama story. So I'll read it to you because it's really interesting. Infrared drones, search parties, and a lasso chasing a runaway llama. In a season of uncommon grief and worry, people far beyond the Westchester County estate from which Gizmo escaped were all too happy to fret about something else for a change. And it's got, like, this woman here, and she's got the story with the llamas there. So she's got these two llamas right there. Diana, so it says, Bedford Corners, New York. Diana Hyman is the kind of person who traps mice in her farmhouse and releases them in nature preserves. The kind of person who kept silky chickens in her living room and their eggs in the cup holders of her car. She's not the kind of person who loses a llama, but there she was on Wednesday, speeding from the North Castle Town Hall in Amherst, New York, to the police station in Mount Kisco, the footwells of her Toyota scattered with spilled llama treats, passing out bushels of flyers. Lost llama. One read, "Try not to scare him." Gizmo is the name of the llama, she said aloud, as if a missing llama roving the hills of Bedford Corners, a wealthy equestrian pocket of Westchester County, could hear her. Where are you? Word of the weeks-long hunt for Gizmo. The 7-year-old llama who absconded on December 13th, had already ricocheted around the town, the state, and far beyond. Prayers tips poured in from people who knew neither Miss Hyman nor the first thing about pack animals. But a llama was on the loose, and it had captured the public's imagination. As the days stretched into llama-less weeks and concern grew, Miss Hyman's increasingly desperate Facebook posts morphed into calls for llama search parties. Tipsters from around the region began calling her at all hours. Someone sent pictures of a llama, a different llama, safe in its paddocks. Someone else sent a photo of llama during that turned out to be the leavings of a deer. Complete strangers took to the hills and dales between the mansions and horse estates of the surrounding towns to find Gizmo. One caller said she had located him with her psychic. Miss Hyman hands out lost llama flyer. So in this moment of unfathomable worry, of airborne plagues and economic ruin, the opportunity to fret over a lost llama became its own kind of balm. The search for Gizmo drew in strangers perhaps seeking a simpler thing to care about at a time when even our quotidian cares to not get sick, to muddle through, to survive are monumental. Everything is going real crazy in the world, so anything that shows some love, being there for others, is important, said Stephen Blick, who, with his daughter Selena, 9, spent 4 hours on Wednesday hiking the 225-acre Arthur W. Butler Memorial Sanctuary in Mount Cisco looking for Gizmo. The people in the woods thought I was a little crazy when I asked them if they saw a llama, said Mr. Blick, who works in construction, but I got the word out. At home, our biggest suggestions for how to, Gizmo, whose coat is a patchwork of white and brown spots and whose face wears a permanent expression of mild offense, had arrived only the day before his disappearance from Fairland, Indiana, just southeast of Indianapolis. He came with his best friend, a blondish llama named Sandman, whose unusual hair resembles fronds of a mop. But as soon as they arrived in their paddock, beside the mansion on a 120-acre farm Miss Hyman manages in New York, where Martha Stewart has an estate nearby, the pair went renegade, jumping the 5-foot fence of their new pasture. It was all too much for the sheltered Indiana llama, said Gizmo's former owner, Heather Bruce. He only knew his llama buddies. Both llamas had jumped the fence, but Sandman was apprehended quickly. Leo Garcia, the farm's groundskeeper, spotted the pair loose on the lawn that morning. A cowboy who learned roping on the ranches of Guatemala, he grabbed a lasso from his truck bed and hurled it right over Sandman's head. In one shot, Mr. Garcia, 35, said later. Leo Garcia, the farm's groundskeeper, was able to lasso Sandman, Gizmo's best friend, when the two llamas made their escape. Gizmo kept going. Sandman had been apprehended, but Gizmo, for all his supposed featly to his stable mate, took off. Llamas can reach speeds of up to 35 miles per hour, and Gizmo was out of Miss Garcia's lassoing range immediately. And so he goes on and goes on. And then it talks about, there's a part here, because this is like College of Rochester, let's see. Because they used the drone to find the llama. But at one point, there was a piece of the story that I want to share, because it can go on and on and on. But basically, these llamas went like crazy and were like loose running around like maniacs for a while. I never seen anything because I thought the llama belonged to the other house, said Mr. Blanco, 20, that changed when he saw a poster on Wednesday after he texted the picture to her. Miss Hyman sped over with Mr. Garcia and his lasso. So what happened was here's the part that I was on. that night on the 17th day of Gizmo's absence, because he was gone for like 17 days, another picture of a llama flashed on Miss Hyman's phone. The familiar patchwork, his pattern, his look, the same mildly miffed air. Could it be? Just under a mile away from where Gizmo escaped, Jose Blanco and 4 colleagues had spent the last 2 weeks remodeling a bathroom in a house on Lonsbury Road and not paying much attention to the llama wandering the yard of the vacant home next door. So, and they're the ones that ended up, like, they just saw the llama, like, out the window, just, like, wandering about, and they were like, why is there a llama out there? So I'm thinking, and it goes on and on. But it's weird because that story popped up right after the morning of the first story I saw that morning when I opened up my phone and looked at my email was that story from the New York Times about this llama that got loose in the countryside. Right after that same night when I saw that first image of a llama, I thought, this isn't about my dream. When I read the other story, even though the other story was like, okay, that connects in pieces to what I remembered with the 2 boys and the person who was driving erratically and all that other stuff. Now, granted, they were not in water and the vehicle didn't flip over, but apparently where the llamas were at, they had just gotten a bunch of snow. So there was several feet of snow, and it was like to enough to cause flooding, because apparently there's some flooding going on up there as well because of the snowfall and how heavy it is. So all of these little pieces were, so I was like, okay, so I don't know. What do y'all think? Do y'all think that those pieces all happening like right then and there are connected to the dream that I had, and that was a dream? And what my dream was a mishmash of these 2 stories that I was going to see in the future at this time within 2 weeks of the other dream that I had, which is also within 2 weeks, we're within just a few days now of these changes happening on a political level. I don't know, but it's interesting because I honestly don't know if that is all connected to my dream, and I'm being like, hey, the time is here, the time is here, the time is here. And they're like telling me that now is the time that these other elements are going to start to show up in what I saw in the other dream, only less than 2 weeks after this first dream with the llama. So that's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering if it's all kind of coming together now and that the pieces are starting to show up. So that's what I'm wondering. So that's what I'm thinking. But I just wanted to share it with y'all because I thought that's weird. Like, that's just... I love synchronicities because I get them all the time. But whenever I get them like that, where I was like, no, that first one, that's about antibodies. It has nothing to do with, like, there are no roaming llamas free. And then, saw the second story. And then the next day, first story I see is these free roaming. I'm like, okay, well, there's the other piece of it. So I'm thinking, decorating. It's like the flooding contributing to the crash could be her drunken state. That could also be it as well. I mean, that could also be part of that as well. I mean, it just depends. I was also wondering if maybe she wasn't the only one in the vehicle, or maybe, there was someone else in the vehicle with her and they just didn't mention that. And there was some confusion around who was driving or what was going on. So I don't know about that either, but it's possible as well. But it's just interesting coincidences that are happening right now. And then in the next few days, we've got some other stuff coming down politically. So all I can say is, I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out in the next few days. If y'all hear of, a shooting in front of people being shot in front of the White House with protests and, because I don't know if, for those of you who don't know about the other dream, that's another story altogether. And I've already done like a few videos and I've already shared that with as well. And you can go down because I've posted it several times. It always starts people talking, wanting to say this or that or put in their 2 cents, who have issues with what my dream was about. I'm like, I didn't pick to have this dream. This was actually before I was very invested in the politics of the day. Of course, I got invested later on, and of course, last year I made it very clear what my positions were in many things. But still, like, the dream is way before any of that. So it's interesting. So we'll have to find out and see what happens in the next few days. But I wanted to share it with y'all. So I guess y'all are seeing. Lali Lopez is like, it sounds like your dreams are mashed together. Yeah, it does sound like that. Most of the, like, what I've noticed over the last 2 years, because over the last year, alone, my ability has gotten so much more precise and accurate. And it's just because I do so many readings and I've gotten so much better at it. But my dreams have also gotten more and more precise. Before the first dream, before the llama dream, I've had dreams before. I've had several dreams before of events taking place and events happening. I've shared them on videos, and I'm actually going to show it all on my website so people can see like what I've dreamt about and what happened after that. So that was validating to that. So I've had dreams before, and there's a lot of symbolism, and it's not always exactly the way it's going to be, but it's enough for you to be like, like that's where it's at. Oh, this is what he was seeing. Oh, that's what he was seeing. So I'm thinking that the first dream, the llama dream that I had in 2019, was the mishmash. And then the second dream was more refined or more, getting closer to what I was going to be seeing. And I think maybe what the first dream might have been was them letting me know, hey, Ferny, when this happens, this is going to be something that you see right before that because of the way that it happened and the timing that it happened. So they're almost like, say, hey, the llama stuff is showing up. You're getting close to the second event happening. So that's why I'm thinking, okay, maybe this is what's coming. Maybe that second dream is finally going to completely, show up, even though there's already been enough to like validate that that's happened, because that has happened, but in a symbolic way. And I don't always take everything completely as just symbol, because my dreams are always a mix of symbols with very specific, precise things that actually tend to happen aside from the symbols. So in my dream, the llamas were not actually symbols of llamas representing something. They were actual llamas roaming free, and there was two of them roaming free in the countryside. There was the brick, the stone, thing, and I felt like I was a worker, like doing construction inside of this building, this white vehicle, the two boys, so there's definite elements there, but then there's also symbolism in the way that it got mixed up. And maybe the reason why in my dream, the white vehicle came in and then started circling and going into circles around the llama was to get me to understand that there was going to be kind of like both of these brought together, where the white vehicle incident was going to circle or going to be right around the same time frame when the two llama things were going to be coming in, and they were trying to literally tell me this is having to do with this. This is coming around this. So I'm thinking that's what that means. Again, within 2 weeks of the second dream, which is the one that I'm worried about. So we'll see what happens in the next few days. Let me see what y'all are saying here. I know some of y'all are still asking me personal questions or like psychic questions, but I'm not doing that, y'all. So I'm just gonna see if y'all have anything to say about the dreams, because I love like that's one of my favorite things to do, to break down dreams and like understand the depths and the meanings of it. And especially with other people, I can like break them down like no one's business, because there's so much like, we don't understand how often our guides and our loved ones are communicating with us in dreams, and they give us a lot of information. They give us a lot of guidance, and sometimes they're very direct. We just don't get it because we're so caught up in like what the experience is inside the dream that we completely ignore the message that may be coming through, and instead we latch onto the experience or to what we're feeling inside the dream. But every single time I've dreamt of an event happening in the world, I'm never myself in the dream. I'm always seeing it from the eyes of someone else. And that's happened several instances and several times whenever it's a world dream. When it's a dream about my life, I'm in my own body. It's me. But when it's me experiencing something through someone else's eyes, which in this case, I think I was experiencing the experience of looking out this building, looking out this like place in the window from one of the guys that was doing construction. I'm thinking that's what I was seeing there. So let me see. Oh, you're welcome, Crystal. I'm happy. I'm happy to be able to give you as much information as I can. I love. Hey, beautiful. Hey, girl. Let's see. Going through. Crystal. Going through. Mama of Dews. Let's see. Could this have anything to do with the past life things, right? In this something coming? No, I don't think it's past life. Whenever I have a past life dream, I'm in a completely different time. Like all of the elements are in a past life memory dream. What I realize is that it feels like I'm living in another time. This didn't feel like that to me. This just felt, there were elements that reminded me of a past time, but it still felt like it was present. It didn't feel like it was like another time frame. So usually when it's a past life, like all of the pieces are like meticulously that time, and every experience, even every feeling that I'm having in that time, is associated with the experience itself. There aren't any like I'm me, that like I'm Ferny or I'm a male. It's more like I'm the actual character, but every single thing I'm experiencing is matching that time frame, every single detail. So there aren't any elements that are kind of weird or wonky in that way. Let's see. Oh, thank you, Hush Essentials. Let's see. Let's see. I'm here, girl. Yeah, por vida. It's like, yeah, I definitely don't believe in coincidences. No, for me, it's either an alignment of some sort where like life is lining up to what it's something that we need to be aware of, or something that we need to pay attention to. And those are always the little hits. Those are the little things. Like you have to pay attention to those little details because they're important. And most of us don't ever pay attention to the little things. Most of us are like running around trying to think of this and trying to think of that. And we miss a lot of those little like hints and signs from the universe. There's a difference between reaching for something and trying to make and force something to fit. And then there's when there are coincidences and elements that are just too similar or too precise to under. Oh, by the way, and when I was reading the story about the woman who, like the driver who hit it was 222. So it was at 2:22 a.m. in the morning when I was reading that story. So when I read it, I was like, so when I saw the first one with the llamas, I was like, okay. And then I thought, maybe this is my dream. And then I saw the second one. I was like, whoa, that's a lot of pieces there. And I was like, oh, no. And then I look at the time and it was 2:22. And I was like, oh, shoot. I was like, okay, now I'm really in alignment. So there's something here. There's something that I'm love be forever. Dreams for me can sometimes be so wishy-washy. One moment I am in one place and the next I can be in a different place with completely different people. My subconscious seems to be all over the place, but I never discard either parts only because of how they both can make me feel individually. To me, they all mean something. Yeah, absolutely. If we're like scatterbrained in life, we're probably scatterbrained in like our dream state as well. Most of my dreams, I can have like up to 3 or 4 dreams in one night. They can be very active. They can be very lucid, but I don't usually remember all the pieces, or I don't remember them as well. But when I wake up, having remembered every single piece of the dream, I know that's already my signal that they're trying to tell me something to pay very close attention to. So whenever I have a dream that is that intense and I wake up completely like in the midst of like the extreme emotional experience of it, I know that there's something more to it than just me, having to do with it. Because it's usually not about me. At that point, I'm like, okay, this is not about me. This is about something I need to pay attention to. So that's how I know there's a difference between if it's something that I'm just like expressing or living out or dealing with myself, or if it's something that is something I need to pay attention to and has nothing to do with me. Because I'll wake up and remember every single detail and I don't feel like myself in the dream. And the elements are symbolic, but also there's a lot of very like standard or normal like elements that are happening with these symbolic like references to them as well. Por vida, yeah, whenever, because I do so many readings, you just get more psychic. Like you get more psychic all the time. And when I'm gonna tell you, people think like when I'm not working, I'm like on TV watching all of the psychic shows. No, hell no. Like I cannot sit and watch a full episode of like one of the psychic shows or anything like it. It's just like, it's like work, right? It's like when you've been staring at a computer, like looking at documents and files all day, do you want to go home and do the same thing? Hell no, you don't want to go do the same thing. If you've been flipping burgers all day, do you want to go home and make a burger? Hell no, you don't want to go home and make a burger. It's the same thing. Like, because when I work, I am doing so much when I'm done, I'm shutting this shit down. It is shut off. I don't, and so sometimes I'll have friends and they'll text me and they'll be like, hey, so this is going on, and I'm just like, oh, I'm like, they're asking me to be psychic. And there's a part of me that fights it. It fights it because I'm like, I don't want to tune in. I don't want to tune in. I've already tuned in so much today. I'm so tired. I'm done. I don't think, and so I try really not to, because it's exhausting after a full day's work. And so I'm like, I don't, I know you're my friend, but so that's why I try to dissuade my friends from coming to me for readings and stuff. Even my sister, she was asking me for, it's funny because I do free readings on Wednesdays and on Fridays on live, right? And I'm doing all these readings. My sister was like, hey, can you read me? I was like, girl, I can't read you as well because I'm too close. I care too much about the outcome. So that messes with my senses. She's like, come on, no, tira las cartas. Well, she says, tira las cartas. I'm like, I don't use tarot cards, girl. I just tune in. But she's used to the old Hispanic way of tuning into the future. But I'm like, girl, I don't look at the, but, so she was asking me for a reading for almost 2 weeks before I finally had enough energy to okay, let me tune into something and maybe I can get something for you. But yeah, it's funny. So that annoys her. You can ask her. She gets irritated because she gets irritated that I can't read her as well, and I'm known for being an established reader, and yet she's when she goes looking up a reader, I'm the one of the top on the list, and she's like, man, it sucks that you can't read. I'm like, girl, I'm like, I can't even see my own damn future. So I don't know what you crying about. I can't even see my own damn future. So Sally was like, do you think that the two llamas represent the two boys? No, I think they were the two llamas. They were actual llamas roaming free. I don't think they have anything to do with the boys. I think it was both of those things coming into my awareness at the same time, and then me seeing those around the same period and clicking together. Because in the last year or two since the dream, have yet to see anything that includes a llamas running or loose, and then a story or something very closely connected to two boys passing away and a white vehicle losing control with a man, it's Grossman is what it is. This woman's last name is Grossman, was in the front, and it was drunk driving and it was speed. So that's what that's about. So no, I think it's actually the mismatch and them saying, hey guys, this is what it is. Pues, hola, no sé si lees en español. Quiero saber sobre alguien que ya está en el cielo, mi mejor amiga. I do speak Spanish, guys, by the way. I am able to speak Spanish. I don't do a lot of Spanish sessions just because, a lot of people who speak Spanish don't book it. But I can do it. There are some things that I struggle with when I'm trying to communicate or say something in Spanish, and I'm like, and I feel like I'm talking like Selena. I'm all toda chueca in the way that I'm saying the words and stuff. But I can speak Spanish. My mom she spoke Spanglish, and then my step grandmother, she was straight up 100%, just came over from Mexico, and she only spoke Spanish. And so because I spent so much time with her, she was always correcting my Spanish and trying to get me to say things correctly. So I definitely can speak Spanish. I believe it's validation for your gift. I'm intrigued with you having seen through a workman's eyes, just as he described maybe some astral traveling. It could be astral traveling. I think it's what I wholeheartedly believe is, because I believe we are all like God. We are all source, living in human form. We're all extensions of the divine here in physical form, even though we believe we're separate. I believe I'm Ferny, you believe you are you. We're actually not. Those are just stories that our soul has kind of put into play, so that we've become conditioned to believing that we're this physical person. But I'm not just this person. That's just who I believe I am in this lifetime. I believe that we're all connected. We're all interconnected. And that's why it's so much easier for me to connect with people, even if I'm not near them, because there's no real difference between you and I, even if we're vast distances apart. We're all interconnected. It's almost like a cell phone network. We're all connected to the cell phone network, and you can send a signal out and it can sometimes jump or bounce to someone else's signal or phone. It's the same thing. We're all interconnected. There's no difference. There's no separation, only the belief that we're separate based off of the conditions that we all chose and accepted by being in this physical form. So I think that's what that's about. So, me tuning into something else or tuning into the future or the past or knowledge, etc. It's not about astrally projecting or having to separate myself from myself. It's just about me opening myself up to the potential or the idea, which I already believe that because of the work that I do. So it's not that difficult for me to receive all of these messages and forewarnings and, knowledge about stuff that's coming down the pipeline. See. All right, let's go over here because I want to see what's over here real quick. Tammy's like, love listening to you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I used to be the drive-thru person at Starbucks back in the day when I was just a barista. And I was like, hi, welcome to Starbucks. What can I get for you today? Thank you so much for choosing Starbucks. Can I offer you an iced lemon pound cake to start your order? So I was the drive-thru queen. I remember one time this guy came in the drive-thru. And I was like, hi, thank you for choosing Starbucks. What can I get for you today? And so he ordered his drink and I was like, awesome, great. So I have you down for, and of course it sounds differently from on his end because he can't see me. He can only hear me. And this was back before they had the videos now at, the little teller thing. And so I was like, all right, thank you so much. I'm going to have your order and your drink ready for you once you get to the window. So I look forward to greeting you then, and so before he drove up to the window, he was like, I don't know. I'm really excited to see you. I'm really excited to meet you. You have such a beautiful voice. And I was like, oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And so he pulled up, and when he pulled up and saw that it was a guy and it was me, he was like, ah, and I was like, So I was laughing my ass off. We were all laughing, cracking up because there were like 2 or 3 of us like on the head with the headset on. And so when he said that, it was hysterical because they were like, okay, like that's weird that, this guy's like getting turned on with your voice and I was like, maybe I should rethink my whole career. Maybe I need to start working at Starbucks and serving lattes. Maybe I need to just like become a sex phone operator or something. I'm like, hi, welcome to, so I was like, our world is ready to like change careers. So it was hysterical. It's like so much fun. So much fun. The fun that we used to have in the drive-thru. Yeah, Cassidy's like, I love getting predictive dreams. Love that you keep a record. I try to keep as much of a record as I can because I want to be able to go back and see what I picked up on that was accurate versus what wasn't. I don't know if some of y'all remember that I had a dream, I think it was around summertime. I kept having dreams about my mom where I had one dream where I was freaking out because she was in a wheelchair because she couldn't walk. Even though she's not in a wheelchair, she can walk. But in the dream she was. And I felt guilty because I felt like I had abandoned her. And I was trying to get her out of Houston because I felt like something was wrong in Houston or something. And I felt like it was my fault that this was happening to her in the dream. Then I woke up. So I was worried because I felt like something was going to happen and maybe she might lose a leg or she might not be able to walk. And then fast forward a month or 2 later, I had another dream about my mom. And in that dream, my mom, I was in what I thought it was my truck pulling into her parking lot of the apartments that she lives at. And she was coming out to the vehicle, to my truck. And she slipped on whatever she was walking. She slipped, and I shared the dream online. I shared it. I even posted it, so y'all can go down to my post and see it from back when I had it. She slipped, and when she slipped, her foot and her leg. Normally whenever someone's like pretending this is the knee goes this way. In the dream, she slipped, and her leg did this and bent forward and completely broke in the opposite direction. And she lay there on the ground and looks like in agony and in pain. And I was freaking out seeing her on the ground in the dream. And that was like very upsetting for me. So I was like, oh my God. And in the dream, I felt like it was a lethal fall or a lethal wound. And I was freaking out. And then I woke up again. And so I had that dream just a few weeks after the first one. And I was like, and I have dreams before anyone in my family passes away. I tend to have dreams about it within a year of their passing. So I was like starting to freak out because I was like, oh my God, like what's going to happen? And then my sister had a dream. And in her dream, my mom was talking really oddly, and it almost sounded like she wasn't on her medication and she was just sounding like a crazy person. And in the dream, there were other people there, including my grandfather. But this was my sister's dream, right? So my sister was having this dream. So she says that in the dream, my mom was being really weird. She was trying to figure out what was wrong with my mom if she was not on her medication. My grandfather, who's passed away, came up to my sister and said, don't pay her any attention. Don't worry about her. She's not going to, she's not going to stay this way. She's not going to be with you much longer. That's what he told her. And then she woke up. And then she texted me the next morning and told me about the dream. And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, what are y'all saying? Like, are y'all telling us that she's going to pass soon? What is going on? So I've been worried that something's going to happen. And then, of course, after that, she got COVID. And so I was like, oh my God, is this it? Is this it? And then she survived. So I was like, okay. So then a few weeks after that, she was getting on the Metro bus because there was the Metro. It's like one of those Metro lifts that come up and get her. In Houston, the Metro bus came to pick her up. And she had this horrible fall from the bus onto the ground, and her leg was swollen and she had to go to the doctor. Metro, like, they had it on camera and everything. They were doing an investigation, and my mom, she couldn't walk for a while. And I was like, oh my God, this is like starting to show up. So I was freaking out, and I still am not over it because I'm not sure if this has already played itself out or not. Her leg is healed. They've already done x-rays. Everything is okay. But she had all this fluid like swollen in her leg for several weeks, and she wasn't able to walk as well. And it hurt very much so. And they thought maybe she like broke her leg or something. And I was like, oh my God, if she's got a break, maybe she has sepsis because of an infection. Like, my brain has been like, over that. So that's where I've been with all of that. And I still don't know if that's over with or not, because I'm like, I don't know what to expect. But, and with the dream that my sister had, my sister's also psychic. She just doesn't actively use her ability, but she'll have dreams every now and then. So I don't know. I still don't know what to expect from that, but I'm thinking it's already passed. So, but we'll see. We'll see what happens, if something's going to happen. Hey, Shelly. Shelly's like, I tried to book a reading, but it's like, you're not available till May. Hey, Shelly, I had, the mediumship sessions were booked out until May. And then a few weeks ago, I opened up a bunch of extra time slots for mediumship specifically because I was booked out that far. And so I'm forcing myself to take extra mediumship appointments on days where I know I'm already going to be doing mediumship and then the lives. So there's only so much energy that I can use, because mediumship uses a lot of my energy. It's almost like an iPhone that like doesn't stay charged. So with mediumship, I have to be very conscious about how many of those I do. So I opened it up to extra and they've already filled again. So it is what it is. Now you can reach out to Roxy, my assistant, and if something opens up, she usually will go out and say something. Hey guys, there's some openings if you want to book it before someone else books them. But I would just say keep checking back, because if someone reschedules their appointment, because people can reschedule themselves, if it opens up, it'll show up in the online system. But as of right now, it is what it is. So to open up more space, I am only human. I only have so much energy. I'm not going to be able to open up any more times besides what I've already done. So unfortunately, it is what it is at this moment. Natalia's like, I dream of my mother. She says, the llamas are trying to talk to you. Maybe. Hey guys, that Santa Quinn, if y'all started getting hit by that Santa Quinn person, that is a spammer. They're going to try to take your money. So I would just report them as spam and block them, because I'll probably be able to do that once I get done with the live. And Connor, almost all of my dreams happen in the house I grew up in. You know why that is? Because that is your safe. Because that represents a place where you may have felt safe, or you may have felt a sense of like control. Sometimes when we are going to be given something that we don't have control over, or something that is going to be frightening, or maybe just a bit odd, usually we will end up being in a place that feels comforting for us, or that feels stable, or like a solid foundation to work off of. So that's why your dreams are always there. All right, that's it. All right, guys, I love you all. Thank you. What did I say? Oh, Samantha, it's like my first instinct was your mom would fall and break her hip. Glad your mom is doing better. Love listening to you talk sometimes. Yeah. When it comes to my own family, when it comes to my own loved ones, it's hard. And if they're gonna depart, they're gonna tell me. I'm gonna find out, but it's not like I know an exact date or an exact time. And I'm thinking that's what this llama dream was, is they're saying, hey, this is getting close to the other part of the dream, which is within 2 weeks. So I'm like, okay. So that's why I'm thinking, oh, crap. Let's see what happens if people are out on the street shooting each other in front of the White House. All right, guys, I love you. I just wanted to share my dream with y'all. Have a good